you know what we got to do is have a big giant feast and invite over 50 people. That's Christmas. My parents, they always never did anything.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Epic Every Day, our weekday podcast for busy, overwhelmed Christians who don't want to live in the insanity anymore.
That's right.
We want to find freedom and abundance and peace. I'm Liz Ferricks, and this is my husband, Evan.
Hello. I feel like it's echoey in this room, but maybe it's not picking up.
I don't know.
We're changing up the location, folks.
Keep our voices down, being in the library. I'm so excited, you guys. We are going to be doing a class about how to organize 2018.
Yeah, we keep talking about the self-examined life and how important that is, and the start of the new year is a great time to do that. We did that pretty significantly last year. We sat down as a family and did all that. So the class is going to be practical and hopefully very useful about what we mean by self-examined life, and then just all the different things we've mentioned. We're going to go a little bit more in depth.
It's going to be superifically awesome. Totally excited because we're going to actually teach you guys how to do tapping, how to, practically do some of the other things we've talked about, how to set Sacred Six kind of goals and all those great things that have been so life-changing for us. And we'll give you guys more information as it gets closer, but we thought we'd give you a heads up so you can be planning ahead. So this week we're going to talk about the holidays because they're pretty close. Pretty much, Christmas is next week. So, we figured you guys might need a little bit of a infusion of encouragement to get through this last push. I know I do.
Yeah, it's real easy to lose track of our calm. There's just so much going on, I think, is a big part of it. We're trying to cram a lot into just a few weeks, really. Yeah.
Right, yeah. We actually had, I think, the busiest week that we've had all year because of all the holiday stuff. This past weekend was just...
It was lots of good stuff. It was just a lot more than... And we have a more slow-paced life probably than a lot of people. And that's on purpose. And so when we were like, here's about... What was it like?
I think we did 12 things.
In 3 days or something.
Yeah.
It may not sound that oppressive to some people, but
for us, it was
a lot.
It was a stretch.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I think it's so hard when you have so many activities going on in order to hang on to your calm is because you're just moving from one thing to the next. And I know for me, one of the first things to go is any self-care. I don't have time for that. I get up in the morning. And it was crazy this last week. I was looking in my journal and I was like, I haven't sat down and journaled in like 4 days because it was just so busy. Well, and 2 of those days I was sick, but.
Yeah, you got to give yourself some grace.
Yes, but just recognizing that is so often the first thing to go. And like we were talking about last week, having that railroad track, recognizing that we're all, we all need that kind of preset. And we have to decide if we're going to put it in there or not. And if you don't put the railroad track in, then it's easy to end up all over the place,
I think one of the things that prevents me from doing self-care is because I'm carrying, I'm putting my schedule or other people's schedule ahead of my own.
Yeah.
And that's just part of being in a family or in a group. It's like, the church is doing this on this day, and we're going to go do this at aunts and uncles or grandma and grandpa's on this day, and it's all really important.
Right.
But it's figuring out the balance somehow.
When I think stress kind of begets more stress. When you're stressed because you've got a lot of stuff going on and then you don't do your self-care, you get more stressed. And so then whatever you're trying to do doesn't go as well. We've talked before, when you're stressed, your body goes into fight or flight, your rational brain shuts down, your creative problem solving shuts down. So anything that you do is going to be harder when you're stressed. Yeah. It's one of those I know what would make this situation better. Let's add some anxiety, said no one ever.
Right. Yeah, I think what it is, at least my mind is like, well, okay, to solve the stress problem, it's hurry up and get through the thing. It's not stop doing the
Right.
thing and meditate or take a nap or go to bed early. It's rush, rush, rush and get to the finish line or
Right.
whatever.
I can't tell you the number of times I've heard someone say this season, like, I just have to make it through until the end of the
Yeah.
holidays.
And then what? January is just going to be stressful too, and so is February. I mean,
Well, it's going to be stressful for a different reason, but we all think that if we get past
Right.
a certain thing, whatever it is, whatever the stressor is in our brain, that we will, it'll magically make things better.
yeah. So I think that, so yeah, so we've got lack of self-care, but I think that's some other thing where it's just looking short-term vision or something. Being short-sighted, I guess, and being like, once the thing right in front of me is over, then it'll be okay.
And see, I would categorize that as the internal freedom comes before
Yeah,
external
we
freedom.
talked about that last week.
Yeah, that we're like, okay, once I have external freedom, then I'll have internal freedom. Once my, calm will come in my heart after my circumstances are calm, when
Right.
that's the exact opposite of the way life works.
Right. But that's how we navigate a lot of the time.
Right.
And then I'll also in the mix is balancing other people's and my own expectations. I mean, the holidays
Right.
come with such like this idea of what the holidays is, and watch any Christmas movie, and that's kind of the thing. It's like, it's got to be Christmas, and it's not Christmas without this, and it's not Christmas without that, and what
Yep.
happened to Christmas? Who stole Christmas? And capitalism, that's what did it, or materialism, that ruined Christmas. And so it's all these expectations, and they need to be balanced with the truth,
Right.
which, I mean, really, I don't know, we hold kind of a controversial view. I think that just because it's a tradition doesn't mean it's sacred.
Yes.
And a lot of people, though, struggle with that, where traditions are sacred. And I think we want to examine that. I mean,
Yeah.
not just to spite anybody, especially, our ancestors or our relatives who see them as really important, but to just try to be a little bit like, well, we can't do everything, so what are we going to do?
Right, which is why we encouraged you guys to sit down in the beginning of November and write down what are the things that are important to you. And, recognizing that Christmas doesn't have to be a crazy day. I know as we're coming into the actual day, a lot of the time it's like, okay, we got to do this huge meal. We got to actually had a conversation with our daughters yesterday, or maybe even today, where we were talking about Christmas and how they're excited for Christmas because we don't do anything on Christmas. Like, that's our rule.
Well, I can wonder what they're thinking of when they say that. It's probably like
Well,
a
we
big
don't
production.
go anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's part of our thing is we just don't go anywhere. We stay home. They're like, Christmas is supposed to be relaxing. And I was like, yeah, you guys only think that because that's what Dad and I decided to do, that we
Sure.
wanted Christmas to be a relaxing holiday for our family. They're like, doesn't everybody make Christmas relaxing? I was
Well,
like,
yeah,
no.
different people have different ideas about what's fun and relaxing too.
right, this is true.
It'd be interesting. They could grow up and push back against that and be like, what we got to do is have a big giant feast and invite over 50 people. That's Christmas. My parents, they always never did anything.
We
We'll
had
see.
macaroni and cheese for Christmas meals.
Be interesting to see, and if they're intentionally making that choice, then awesome.
More power to them.
Yeah. Why do you think we feel like we don't have enough time? I think that's another thing too. We feel like it comes on so quick. It's like, oh no, it's all of a sudden it's Christmas, and then we don't have any time, and then it's over in a few weeks. But
Well, I think part of it is that the difference between our perception of time and actual time. Like, when you are trying to slow down your perception of time, there's some very specific things you can do, like keeping a journal so that you write down what you did yesterday, and then you can look back and be like, oh yeah, that was yesterday. I remember it. But I think because we're so busy, we just are like rushing through everything. And so it feels like, at least for me, we were just talking about this morning. Our weekend was so crazy. We were talking about what happened on Friday. our daughters and I were talking about what happened on
Yeah.
Friday, and it was like, that was just Friday? That feels like that was, a month ago, because we just did so much stuff in between Friday morning and Monday. You
Yeah,
know?
like in our brains, it's like, well, I normally do about X number of things a day.
Right.
And since I've done a week's worth of stuff
Right.
the
So I
math
think there's
kinda
that
stretches it.
weird compression, of, like that weird perception of time. There's both the compression, the like, I know when I'm in the middle of it, when I start my day and then we get to the end of it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that happened so fast. I was not ready for it, because we just go from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, versus when you look back on it, it's like, whoa, that was so long ago, because there's been so many things that we did, since that point in time.
I think the answer is, well, the solution is still similar. It's like, now take some more time and meditate or slow down or schedule a gap
Right.
in your thing.
Yeah. Or, some of my tricks have been things like if you're at an activity, or if you have people over at your house, go sit in the bathroom and take 6 breaths, Nobody's going to follow you in there for the
Sure.
most part.
Unless you got little kids.
Yeah, being able to just say, okay, I'm going to take just 30 seconds and try to calm down and kind of recenter on calm. Be like,
Yeah.
all right.
And it doesn't sound like much, but that actually can be very powerful. I mean, it's just a minute
Right.
or two of, you could count your breaths, you could pray. But yeah, because you're then turning off the frantic mode.
Yeah, and you don't even realize how frantic you are until you get out of frantic mode. Another thing, obviously do your self-care things and prioritize them. I mean, I remember the first time that I really realized what a difference doing my quiet time in the morning made. And there was one time where we were trying to pack and leave to go on vacation, and I was like, I gotta do my quiet time before I pack.
Yeah.
Like the morning of, when we were running around, I was like, I gotta do my quiet time first, otherwise I'm not gonna be able to pack well.
Yeah.
And it really does make a difference.
I think it's important to understand or to admit to ourselves that it doesn't all have to get done either.
Right.
And then, because I think that's where I get myself into trouble. It's like, well, if I go for my walk in the morning or do my quiet time, or if I, get enough sleep, all this other stuff's going to go by the wayside somehow. And some of
Right.
it can and should. If that's really the trade-off, then
Right. It's
decide
worth
what's
it.
going by the wayside and what you're keeping.
Yeah, I mean, like for instance, our house is a disaster right now because we're like, it's more important for us to sleep than it is for us to stay up and try to get everything cleaned up from being running around all day, And that's a decision that we made. So it'll get cleaned up later this week.
Yeah. And side note, Liz's idea about what's a disaster and everybody else's is slightly different.
Whatever. I don't know what you're talking about.
But you're right. We got off of our tidy up routine the last few days, and you can tell. But it only takes a day or two to get back on that train track
This is true.
because we have a system in place.
Yes.
Just reassuring you.
Thank you. The other one I was going to say is carry verse cards. This has been so helpful to me. There are some people in my life that consistently throw me out of who am I? Consistently when I'm spending time with them, I cannot remember who God says that I am to save my life. Like, it's just impossible.
Yeah.
So, and actually, my sister totally has made fun of me for carrying verse cards so much. So she started calling them my walkie several years ago.
Which is baby talk for pacifier.
Yeah, this is what our kids called their pacifiers.
Yeah.
I mean, having that and being able to look at it and say, it really just takes 10 seconds to read through a verse. And to just remind yourself, okay, this is what God says. This is what's true. Whatever else is going on has nothing to do with that. It doesn't change the truth.
Yeah, that's true.
Which sometimes I think we forget because we're just so busy running around with our plan and our schedule and stuff.
I think another thing along with that is that gets us in touch with who we are is to make sure we have time to spend with the people that actually know us too. Like if that's a trusted friend more than your family or vice versa, like, so you make priority for maybe some people you don't see all the time during the holidays, but then we want to, I mean, with phone calls or Voxer or something, you can stay in touch with some of your
Right.
anchor people too.
Yeah,
Maybe you'll
that's-
be, I know one of my friends is going to be traveling to see his extended family, but we can still be in touch through, the gathering and through some of that stress.
Yeah, totally. That's another self-care thing. So just because we're headed into the middle of Christmas and just because everybody's in the middle of doing last-minute shopping and you probably have 40 things on your to-do list, that doesn't mean that you have to let go of calm. Calm can still exist in the middle of that.
Yeah, I really like that internal peace, external peace, or whatever that phrase was. I think
Internal
that's-
freedom versus external freedom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that goes with us everywhere. That's part of who we are.
exactly. All right, we love you guys. Hopefully those are some little tips and tricks that you can take into your crazy of a week, whatever is going on with your holiday plans. And come back tomorrow and we are going to talk about the holidays and surrender. Thanks to everybody that's been sharing the show. We really, really appreciate it. If you have found this podcast helpful, please do continue to share it with people, and let's all gird up our loins for the holidays.
And stay present, because
Right.
each day is where we're supposed to be.
We're going to talk about that on Friday with Complete. Don't
we
get
go.
ahead of yourself.
I'm just saying. They all mush together.
This is true.
Yeah. We should have a class where it's like, only do calm on Mondays. Don't do any of the other CSCs.
Great. All right. Have an awesome week, you guys.
Talk to you later.